Hi everyone, this is Kathie and welcome back to Hand Me Down Recipes. And today we have Angi from Creative Simple Living with us, and we're going to talk about her grandmother's bread and butter pickles recipe. How are you today, Angi?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so tickled. So in the interest of full disclosure, Angi and I have known each other forever. Long
Yeah.
time.
I was
and
thinking about it today, probably at least 10 years.
I
At least,
bet
yeah.
even maybe older than that. I had updated a blog post today that I wrote in 2015 first, like the first time I'd ever written it. And I updated it today and I thought I have been at this a really long time. And yes, so
Yeah.
Angi and I have known each other since at least then. So we've known each other a long time. So that's in the interest of full disclosure. We are friends. Not that it matters because we're going to talk about her grandmother's recipe. And so tell us, your grandma made these pickles and she canned them, yes?
Yeah. Well, yes, I do believe she did because when I started canning, she was canning them. Now, I don't know if she canned them in the 40s, but she
Right.
certainly canned them when in the 80s and 90s and,
Sure.
I was around. So,
Right. Because I feel like some of my elderly or older aunts didn't can pickles. Because of the vinegar,
sure.
they just didn't feel like you needed to run them through the canning process. And that is not
Yeah.
considered safe by today's standards, everyone who's listening. I can my own these days. I mean, I can my own pickles. I run them through the
Sure.
canner, so they're fine.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you made these with her when you were a kid?
I did not actually.
Oh, you did
I
not?
ate them.
Okay.
I ate lots of them. My mom was raised in an orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is my dad's mom, paternal grandmother. And she lived about 8 hours away from us. And so when we would go visit, we would stay for, 3, 4,
Sure.
5, 6 days because it was a full day's drive to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so she just had this magical back room full of canned stuff. So she was the only person I knew in the whole world who grew food and canned it. Part of it is because I grew up on the beach and not a lot of people have gardens on the beach.
Sure.
So that's probably, looking back, that's probably part of it. If I had lived a little further inland, then maybe I probably would have known some people. So I had never, we brought dill pickles or kosher pickles,
Sure.
classic, but we didn't ever buy bread and butter pickles at the store. And so I grew up thinking there was something that only my grandmother made.
Oh, right. That's special. That's so great. I love that so much.
So I was a full grown adult before I realized that other people made bread and butter pickles. And so, or that you could even buy them in a store. There was just this flavor about them that I really loved. Obviously, I loved that they're kind of sweet.
Yeah.
But there was this flavor and I never knew what that flavor was until I started making them. And it was celery seed. Celery seed has this very unique scent flavor. And there's nothing else in my life that I ever used celery seed for.
Right.
And so the first time I opened that jar, it just took me back to my childhood. I was like, oh, this is what makes the bread and butter pickles taste amazing. It's celery seed. Who knew?
And so how did you come by her recipe? Tell us how you started.
Okay, sure. So she had passed away. And before I had done jams and jellies and I had called her the first time we're going to make some dewberry jam. But it was several years before I branched out into pickles. And so she had already passed away. So I had called my aunt and she was like, I don't even know where the recipes are. And so I was like, okay, so that's fine. So I looked online and I just kind of found, and this would have been, this is actually one of the very first blog posts I wrote. So it would have been like in 2011. There wasn't a whole lot of recipes online for bread and butter pickles. But I found some and I just read them and I kind of mismatched and we tried various ones and then I kind of did my own thing. Well, then that next summer, my aunt sent me a packet and it was photocopies of a lot of my grandmother's recipes and the bread and butter pickles recipe was in there. And then some of my mom's recipes were in there, even though it was my dad's mom and my parents had divorced when I was a child. My grandmother kept some of the recipes from my mom. And so I got those recipes too, which was really nice because my mom she didn't have them anymore.
Right.
So when she passed, there was no recipe box. So it was just really fun. It was fun to see my grandmother's handwriting on the card and who the recipe was from, and all of that. And so it was just so sweet of my aunt to photocopy those and mail them to us. So
Right.
I've altered. So then I had to make a choice. Well, do I go and make exactly my grandmother's recipe,
Mm-hmm.
or do I switch it up a little bit because we already kind of found one we liked?
Right.
so
Sure.
so I switched up a little bit, like changed the vinegar is the main thing. My grandmother used white vinegar, white distilled vinegar, and I have a hard time with the harshness of
Yeah, I do too.
white
Yeah.
distilled
Mm-hmm.
vinegar. So I use apple cider vinegar, but you put turmeric in it, so it's the same color. They
Right.
look
Right.
just the same.
Right.
So yeah. So that's how I came about the recipe, and it was just we make them every year. My kids, some of my pickle like my kids who like pickles. So my husband can't stand pickles,
Yeah.
and he's brainwashed a lot of my children into not liking pickles. So, but some of my kids do. My in-law children like pickles because they were not raised in with my
Sure.
husband, and so they all just love the bread and butter pickles. So
right. I will say that growing up, I didn't like pickles. And I didn't live in a family where pickles were a big deal, right? We just didn't have them a lot. And I didn't love them. Like, I was always giving my pickles to my husband, like when we went out to eat, right? And you get the pickle. He would always eat the pickle on my plate.
Yeah.
I just never loved them. But I did make bread and butter pickles one year because I was canning and we grew pickles. And I was like, okay, pickling cucumbers. And I was like, okay, I can, I'll make some pickles for my husband. But because they're sweet, I was like, I'll try them because I like sweet. But it was like the gateway. It's like the gateway drug. And I have done this with myself a lot of times over my life. So anyone else who's like, I want to like pickles, but I don't. If you like sweet, try having the bread and butter pickles. And after a while, you may develop a taste for like the dill pickles, which I do like and enjoy now.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
it
like
was
some
just like
dill pickles. I don't like
I had
all.
to like work my way to it. Yeah, I mean, I like my homemade dill pickles. And there is a store brand that we happened to buy at Costco once that they were like quick pickles, not canned, right? So they were like refrigerated and they were very good, but I don't remember the name of the brand now. But yeah, so I feel like it's a gateway pickle. It's a gateway drug to the rest of the pickles.
Absolutely.
And I was looking at your recipe and you say to put, so when you make bread and butter pickles, you usually soak them in cold water. Let's back up one step. Do you only use pickling cucumbers when you make them, or do you use regular cucumbers?
I do. I just
only
use pickling. I'm the only one who will eat raw cucumbers in my family, so I just only grow pickling cucumbers and just eat them fresh.
Okay.
In salads. So yeah.
Yeah, I've only ever made them with pickling cucumbers because usually pickling cucumbers have less water. They're less watery than the slicing kind.
Yeah. And they have a thinner skin. So yeah.
Right. Okay, but in your recipe, so when you make bread and butter pickles, you slice your onions and your pickling cucumbers, and then you usually soak them in water for a number of hours. But in your recipe, you say to put ice on a towel over top of that. So like you put your the slices in the bowl with water, and then the towel, and then ice over the top. Was that what your grandma did? Yeah. Or was that something you learned different?
It says, I'm looking at her recipe. It says sliced cucumbers, onions. Her recipes were very minimal. She assumed people.
Oh, sure. Of that generation. Yeah. That generation.
And it says, salt, cover with ice, and mix well. So I guess I put a towel on. I don't know why I put a towel on, to be honest with you.
Okay, well that's I've never. Yeah, I'm sure they do.
It says slice cubes, onions, peppers, add salt, and cover with ice. So she used ice, not water.
Right. And just let the ice
3 hours
melt,
and it turns to water.
Oh, sure. Right, it would, especially in the heat where you live.
Yeah, and so that also might be part of it too, because my grandmother grew up. Well, my grandparents were very poor. Like I was 13 before they got indoor plumbing, so it would have been 1980. Before they got indoor plumbing. So I bet they didn't run the air.
Right, sure.
So, unless people were over or something and they would run it in one room. So I bet that's why they use the ice, because it's so hot. You wouldn't want to leave them out, 100-degree temperature.
No.
No.
So because normally when I've made them myself, I just put them in cold water, but I live in Montana. It's not that hot usually. Yeah. So, but I have seen other people put ice, but not like on the towel. So that was something a little different, which was interesting. And that's interesting too.
Because the towel. Now I'm wondering where I got the
No, it's fine.
But I've been doing it now for 10 years and it works. So I'll just keep on doing it.
That's right. Why would you change?
Yeah.
Why would you change?
So,
And
so funny.
one of the other
So now all
ingredients.
my kids are going to be like, no, you have to put a towel when they see someone canning.
Right. No, it's true, because you do things that, right? Like, you just do things that,
yes,
how you were taught or how you do it, and you don't question it.
yes.
Why would I question that?
Right.
Why would
Yeah.
why would I question that? So I think that's great. And so for anybody who might be new to making pickles, you use canning salt, which is different than table salt. And I'm going to assume important. For like, if someone's making this for the first, I know it's important because I know it weighs differently.
Yes. So you don't want to use any kind of salt with anti-caking agents, or really minerals for pickles, because it can make it kind of mushy. The minerals can make the pickles kind of mushy. So just plain canning salt, or sometimes kosher salt or sea salt doesn't have the anti-caking ingredients.
Right.
So that's an important thing. So for me, because you're pouring it off, I would just use whatever one's cheaper, and it's probably canning salt.
Yeah, it is cheap. Canning salt.
I wouldn't use an expensive salt for this at all.
And I had heard years ago, and so I've always taken this as gospel truth, and it might not be, but I believe this is true, that canning salt weighs up differently than other kinds of salt.
Because it's a different grain
density, kind of, right? And so when it calls for a quarter cup of canning salt, it actually will weigh a lot heavier than something else. So you should really just stick with canning salt when it calls for it in a recipe, because it could end up making something really salty than if you were using other salt, even if it was something that didn't have anti-caking in it. So use canning salt. It's really important. It's not a safety thing. It's just a flavor thing and a texture thing. So right. Okay. And so vinegar, and you use white vinegar and apple cider vinegar. Mm-hmm. And we should tell everyone that it needs to be 5% acidity.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And also when you buy the apple cider vinegar, make sure it's really apple cider vinegar and not apple cider flavored vinegar.
I know. I've just started seeing that. Me too.
Don't buy pickling vinegar, because half of it's water. It's not 5%. If it says pickling vinegar on the label, like the big jug, it's already diluted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 2.5%.
So read those labels.
Yeah, all vinegar has to have it by law, what percentage it is in the U.S. on the label. Right. So, yeah.
And this is also not a place for homemade vinegar, because you can't guarantee the acidity level.
No.
Not a place.
Absolutely not.
There is a place for that, but it is not here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the spices you use are mustard seed, celery seed, and turmeric. Mm-hmm. Always never mix that up, right? I mean, that's pretty standard, I think, for butter and butter pickles. But...
Yeah. Now, if I didn't have something, well, I shouldn't. No, I would go out and buy it.
You would. For this, she's like, for this recipe, I'm going out.
I would go buy it, I think. So I make a different pickle too that's like a sweet and spicy. And it doesn't have, well, I don't even know what it has in it without looking at the recipe. I know it doesn't have turmeric, but it's still good. Like I put pepper flakes in it. It's based on this recipe. So I just changed up the spices some. So, I mean, it wouldn't be a bread and butter pickle. You have to have those spices to be a bread and butter pickle.
Right. Turmeric is really important.
I'm not normally a purist, but I will be on this.
It is for, bread and butter pickles have that certain color and flavor, and it's, no matter where you get them, it's going to be that way. I think so, too. And, okay, so we're going to talk about, Angie's recipe is for canning. So you recommend a water bath canning. And I was just speaking to Chris Bordessa earlier this week. And we were talking about steam canning too. So have you tried steam canning these? Do you steam can at all? I haven't either because I've just water bath canned for so long.
Yeah, I want to, but I just don't know that I want another gadget.
Right.
In my house. So I don't.
Yeah.
But
see, go ahead.
I was going to say, there is, I have not done this either. There is a long process pickle processing that's at a lower heat. It's supposed to make the pickles stay crispier.
I don't know that.
It's on the National Center for Home Food Preservation's website. The problem is, and this is a problem for me, number one, it takes longer.
Right.
And you've got to use a thermometer to make sure the water doesn't get above like 185 degrees or something like that and it's a longer time period. So I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to
I'll
either.
Just put grape leaves. I'll just put some grape leaves in my pickles and they're fine. They'll last a year and a half. The crunch will be fine. It'll be good. So
okay, so let's talk about that because you just mentioned about the grape leaves, which there are some things that you can add to pickles, which they usually are high in tannins. right?
Right.
Which helps make them be crisp. So grape leaves are one. Is there anything else that you use or
I
recommend?
only use grape leaves because I have a
Because you have
grapevine
grapes.
that grows out in the back of my yard that doesn't produce grapes, but it has beautiful leaves.
Right.
So I use that. There is a pickle crisp that I've heard people have had really good luck with. It's
Pickling lime, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I haven't ever tried it, but
there is an allium that's not really recommended anymore just for health reasons, but people still use it.
Sure.
Some people put tea bags. I don't know how that would change the flavor.
I feel like it would too. Yeah. And I have done, because I have grown it. I don't know how. This is one of those things I don't know how I killed, but I killed horseradish. But you can use, I've heard horseradish leaves, and I did use them one time and they worked fine. But they can add a little spice to it, so you may or may not like that. Yeah. So very good. So people can try all those things. And water bath canning, you can probably steam can them. We just haven't done that because we're so old. That water bath canning is what we do.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes.
I know.
If somebody were to buy me and bring it to me,
right,
a steam canner, I just don't want to spend the money on something else, right?
Right, because you already have
novelty.
it. See, I was gifted several years ago. I did a canning class for a local hardware store, and they gave me one of those electric water bath canners. It's a ball. It's a water bath. It only does water bath canning, but you can also steam can in it. And I have not done that, but I think this is the summer I'm going to try. I'm going to go for it. Just because
that works.
Yeah, I'll let you know because I'll try your recipe and we'll give it a try. Because I feel like, it uses less water and I live in a dry area, so maybe that's a better way to go. It's just I've always done it the other way. So you get stuck in a certain pattern.
You do. And so sometimes it's not even that what you do is better, but you just don't want to change. It's just easier because
I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm going to have to
long process.
Look at I'm not doing the long process because I'm not doing any more time. I live at a higher elevation as it is. I have to add time for canning.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not adding any more time to that. I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah.
Although it might be easier for me because water boils at a different temperature because of my elevation. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. And so after you let them soak and you mix them all together. Now, I didn't look closely enough at your recipe. I tend to find that I almost never have enough brine for pickle recipes. Like I always feel like I need to make 1.5 times what their recipe says.
I haven't felt like that with this recipe. It's
pretty good.
Yeah. It's pretty accurate. If anything, I'll have a little brine left over.
Right.
Which is great because then I can use it to make a salad dressing.
Okay, I was going to ask you what you do. You use it to make a salad dressing, and that's very tasty. That sounds very tasty.
Yeah.
And so, do you do that with the pickles after you've done
after the juice? Yeah, I make a salad dressing with it.
That is so smart.
And I honestly, I say I make a salad dressing. All I do is add some oil to it.
Right, shake it all up in the jar.
So it's like a vinegar and oil that's sweet and flavored and
but it has all the spices in there, so that's really tasty. That is so smart. I've never done that, but that's really smart, and now I will do that. I have on occasion. People are probably gonna think this is. I have on occasion, like I'll take a little drink of it. It's actually fairly good for you, like because it has all the salt and everything. So like if you've done a really hard day's worth of work or you've been sweating a lot, it's not a bad thing to take a sip of that because it's like it's almost a sports drink. Not quite, but it's in that same kind of vein.
Yeah, there's places that sell pickle juice shots.
Yeah.
So you're just getting them for free.
Right.
Awesome.
We have a local restaurant that makes chicken, like fried chicken sandwiches, and they brine it in pickle juice before, like they marinate it. The chicken breast before they bread it and everything. Too. Oh, they very well may. So they very well may. We do have a Chick-fil-A here, but I don't go very often. So I say we just got it, but it's probably been here 6 or 7 years now, but it's not in a convenient place for me.
Sure.
All right. So we're going to can it. And Angie does give you the recommendations, 10 minutes for pints, 20 minutes for quarts, but that's at sea level, I'm assuming. Yes. And so we add time. If people don't want to can, they could just put it in the fridge. Yeah. But this makes 4 jars.
Yeah.
So 4 pint jars. You wouldn't freeze it. Do people freeze
I've never frozen pickles. I just think they would be mushy. I know people do, but I've never. So no, I would put it in the refrigerator. There's enough vinegar. They're going to last forever.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to make them and have to use them in a week.
Right.
Make them because I know that, they will go softer over time the longer they're open, but I'm talking months.
Right.
It'll take months for them to go
Right.
softer. So yeah, if you don't want to can them, just stick them in the fridge.
And for anybody who is like, maybe you have a small garden and you don't always get a lot. One of the things I do in the summer is I will make a brine, like this brine, just the, the sugar and the vinegar, and put some salt in there. And then I will make it in like a half-gallon jar. So I fill it like half full, third to half full. And then I just throw bits of vegetables in there in the refrigerator. Like if I just get a handful, like maybe I just get 1 or 2 cucumbers, I'll just kind of quarter it and throw it in there. And I don't bother with the soaking or anything. I just throw it in the jar. And we love those, and I'll throw other bits, maybe a hot pepper in there. So you can do that and have something, that doesn't have to be canned, or if you just don't have a lot of, because it's always like the very beginning of the season, you get like 1 cucumber. Right. And you don't get another one for a little while longer unless you're buying them somewhere or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I always do that. And my husband and I love that. And sometimes we're eating that. Sometimes there's 2 half-gallon jars on the door of the refrigerator. And we eat those for a few months before we even dig into the ones that have been canned. So
yeah, that's a good idea.
It's a fun way to do that. Okay. And do you have any other kind of tips about making bread and butter pickles, or any other pickles in general that people should know about?
I don't think so. I'm trying to think. Label them for sure.
Oh, yeah.
When you store them away, label them. Right. Yeah.
The nice thing about bread and butter pickles is that they're pretty obvious what they are. Whereas sometimes if you make like regular cherries in a jar and brandied cherries look exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
But you still want to know what year you made them, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I have had, so this recipe's been really fun because I have a lot of comments from, mainly on Pinterest, of people who've said things like, I made this for my dad, who's 70, and he said they taste just like the ones his mom made. I mean, just so, I don't know why they're called bread and butter pickles, but I think that during the Depression era, they were very, very popular. And so older people especially, a lot of them just really love them. There's a gentleman at church that we give a jar to every year, and he says the same thing. These taste just like my mom's. And it just makes me so happy,
Right.
I remember when, so I was clueless growing up, like about
everybody
farming, everything.
Yeah.
And so, and my life was very different than, say, the life that my dad grew up in, and the life that his parents were still living. Very different. And so, we just were like, Grandma, can I have more pickles? Can I have more jam? Can I have more? Like, there was just all this stuff, and it was amazing. And I remember my dad being like, no, you cannot have any more. She worked really hard for that. She did, like all this work for that. And they need that for the year. And it was so what makes me think of that is we have been picking dewberries with my grandson. My grandson and I have been picking dewberries this week. And he's just popping them in his mouth. He's just excited. He's like, Grandma, Grammy, can I take them? Can I take some home? Can I? And I'm like, of course. And he's like, can we make whatever? And then even with the pickles, like, did you make my pickles with the, because he has his own favorite ones that he likes.
Sure.
And I'm like, yes, I did. And it warms my heart to give those to him, for him to enjoy those. And I think my dad didn't understand that. I bet, looking back, my granny was so tickled that these kids,
I'm sure she was,
would come and just love everything she did. I bet she just loved that.
I'm sure she did.
Yes. And so I just feel like if she were here and she heard all these people talking about her recipe, like giving me all these kudos for her recipe, she would just be, I mean, it would be amazing for her. She had like a fourth grade education, and, she lived a life that we just don't even understand.
No.
And so
thankfully.
Thankfully, but
really,
I just think what a great legacy she gave in that recipe for so many people to bless others with what they have. Right.
So. And how do you eat them? I guess I didn't ask you that earlier, but now I'm curious. Do you just eat them like on a sandwich, or how do you, what's your favorite way to eat them kind of?
I eat them out of the jar.
Okay. Yeah.
Or I don't like sweet pickles on sandwiches. So or on hamburgers. So I'll eat them out of the jar, or in like tuna salad and chicken salad. They're really good with a little of the brine in there too. Or I'll chop them up like a relish. And use them like on a hot dog, if we ever have hot dogs, which happens occasionally.
Right, sure.
Once every few years.
Yeah, we don't eat hot dogs very much.
Another thing my husband just doesn't like, so we just don't.
Yeah.
My poor kids are like, "What's a hot dog?"
That's
the only
funny.
kids in the world who've never really had a hot dog.
That's funny.
So,
That's funny.
yeah.
Yeah, because you would think yeah, right. But that's great. Yeah. Now we eat hamburgers. I say hamburgers, but we call them hamburger steaks. So we eat that like just the patty, no bun most of the time. And we like the pickles like on the side, like not on top of the burger, but like as a side dish. So you eat a little bit of the burger and then maybe you have like whatever vegetable you have and then some pickles. We quite like that. I saw a recipe recently for like a grilled cheese sandwich with bread and butter pickles on it. And I thought, I haven't tried it yet because I'm trying to decide if I would really like the cheese and the sweet pickle together. Like I'm trying to decide if I would really like that. I like apples and cheese together. It's a different kind of sweet though. So I don't know. Have you ever tried that?
I have not. I usually just put tomatoes on my grilled cheese.
Yeah, right, which I like quite a bit too, actually. So yeah, that sounds really good. Okay, great. That is, and now I'm gonna have to try the
you'll have to
salad dressing. Yeah, and I'm gonna have to try the salad dressing because that's one of my. And it's funny, I do really like tuna salad, like sandwiches, right? But I don't normally. I haven't really tried putting the pickles in there. So we really like just green peppers, bell peppers in there when we have it. But I'm thinking maybe I should try that. I'm gonna try. My husband might really like that because he loves pickles. So that is all kinds of fun things.
We're not a green pepper eater.
Oh, we're huge here.
So if we didn't put in my I like something in my tuna salad besides tuna, egg, and mayonnaise. My husband would like tuna, egg, and mayonnaise.
Oh, okay, very good.
So I have to like make it and then pull some out for me and some up for him, and we do them differently.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is funny, right?
Well, but we all do things right. Like my husband doesn't eat eggs because they make him sick to his stomach, so he doesn't eat eggs. So like I never put eggs in the tuna salad, but I know other people do. So very funny.
That's funny.
What we do when you're married a long time, you make things for each other, but you also do what you like. You can't just not.
Absolutely.
Like.
So for a long time when we first got married, I didn't buy pickles at all because I thought, it's just me. But now I'm beyond that. I'm like, it's just me, and I'm going to have it because I want. Because I'm important. Because I'm important too. We're both important, right?
Right.
So,
I was taking a class at the college several years ago. It was a writing class, and the teacher said, the instructor was saying something, and she's like, "Women do that."
Yeah.
We don't get something that we like, or she would say, if I'm like, if I'm making salmon for dinner, for instance, and one of the fillets sticks to the pan and breaks, I would take that and not give it to somebody else. Not that it matters. Yeah. And she's like, I quit doing that. I'm going to give myself the best. And I was like, and it's good practice, right? Like, because we work hard too. And not that we can't serve other people, but we can also have the best for ourselves. And we can have what we like. We're not forcing anyone else to eat the pickles if they don't want to, right?
Exactly. I don't know. It's just funny when, when you're first married. But
and you do, especially when you're young. Yeah, especially when you're young. We have some years of experience behind us, so we know things a little differently. I get it, and I'm definitely gonna, I'm still gonna, like, if I have guests, I'm still gonna give them the best piece because that's just how I was raised. But so it's okay to do that sometimes. All right, great. And we just want to, I just want to repeat because this is important to both Angie and I, that please can them and use proper canning. Process. Yes. We're not rebel canners. We're not a fan of that here at Hand-Me-Down Recipes. No. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it.
It's not, because so many times, even if it doesn't make you sick, the food gets spoiled. Like, so why waste the food? Why do that? Especially now when food is really pricey, but your time and energy is important too. It's true. And I'm just going to say this because this I truly believe is true. When ladies were not canning their pickles, I think they were for sure sterilizing the jars, which you have to boil for a solid 10 minutes at sea level before filling them. So now, if it's processed more than 10 minutes or more, you don't have to sterilize the jars. So either way, it's 10 minutes of boiling. You're either going to do it on the front end or the back end. So you might as well do it the way that you're going to be guaranteed safety, which is on the back end. It doesn't save you any money, any time to not do it and to still ensure that you have a safe product.
That's right.
So,
and you're just not going to make anyone sick, and you'll just feel better about it. And you don't have to make,
yeah.
30 jars. If it's just you who likes to eat it, 4-pint jars is probably enough.
Yeah, it probably
Probably
is.
enough.
And then keep notes. Keep notes of
Right.
what you liked, what you didn't. You can change any of the spices in there
Right. Right.
and how many you went through and how many jars you want to make next year.
Right. So very good. All right, Angie, tell everybody where they can find you.
Sure, you can find me at creativesimpleliving.com, and then I'm on the social media platforms at the same thing, Creative Simple Living. On Instagram, it's underscored, so it's like creative underscore simple underscore living.
Oh, well, of course. Sure,
Yeah,
it has to be different.
Yeah. And then on Facebook, it's Creative Simple Living with Angi Schneider. And on Pinterest, it's Creative Simple Living.
Perfect. And we'll include links to all that in the show notes so people can get it and sign up for your newsletter. I am also a subscriber. Yes, we're friends, but I'm also a subscriber to her newsletter, and it's really wonderful. And so I'm going to encourage everyone to sign up and get good tips. And Angie has 2 canning books, which I don't have with me, but why don't you tell us quickly about your books before we sign off?
Sure. The first one is The Ultimate Guide to Preserving Vegetables, and it's all about vegetables. It's got a section on cucumbers, so when your cucumbers are coming in, you can open it up and you can find several recipes and a lot of how-tos on exactly what to do with them. Same thing for tomatoes or onions or whatever. And then the second book is the Pressure Canning for Beginners and Beyond, and it is over 90 pressure canning recipes with safety tips and how-tos. It's more than just recipes. It's exactly how-to and what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing when you're pressure canning.
Right. But very inspired recipes too, because I have both books and they're both very inspired. There's lots of really good, interesting recipes. So if you're a new canner or new to preserving, because the first book is also fermenting and freezing, right? Fermenting, freezing, and canning. Oops, something fell. Okay.
And dehydrating.
So, and then, and dehydrating. So you have different recipes to try, but they're inspired recipes. And so if you're new, you'll get the how-to. But if you're experienced, you get inspired and creative recipes to try something new. So go out and buy them at your favorite books. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Angie. We really had a great talk. I enjoyed this so much. Thank you.
Thank you. This was so fun.